When we want to become creators of our life, we have to become the cause. And we have to start seeing how are we creating these positive cascades versus these negative cascades in our life. And so that's really, truthfully, what this episode's all about. It's about creating positive cascades in your life. Okay, hello, and welcome to this episode of the Alignment with Jenn podcast. This episode is a really fun one that I'm excited to share with you. I'm going to give you 26 habits that you can implement in your life to really get your spark back and to become obsessed with your life. So I started implementing these different habits over the last few years and really ramping them up this past year. And I felt like it caused my life to do this massive jump in quality and just really loving and enjoying every single day. So if you want to have a glow up, if you want to just feel super good about yourself, super good about your life, to be obsessed with the life that you live now, this episode is for you. And I think you're going to get so much out of it. What we're going to kind of focus on is basically 3 different areas. So we're going to talk about the energetics and some tools around energetics. We're going to talk about the body, the physical body of caring for your physical body, and also the nervous system as well as your mind. So I guess 4. The first habit that I think about is creating a diet that calms your nervous system. So this is not something I usually talk about. I don't usually talk about health or the body, but it is something that I feel goes really tightly with all of the other things, the mindset things that I talk about. Because what happens is if our body is very dysregulated, right? If we're fueling ourselves with sugar or processed foods or things that cause our blood sugar to spike and then drop and then spike and then drop, we're having to work against that in order to regulate our nervous system, calm ourselves, and show up as the version of ourselves that we want. And I am very sensitive. My body's very sensitive to basically everything. And so I notice almost immediately when I am not eating in alignment with my body, I get more puffy. I don't feel as good. I feel lethargic. My sleep is affected. And it creates what I call the cascade effect. So there's like a positive cascade effect, and then there's a negative cascade effect. The negative is, let's say that I eat a tub of ice cream before I go to sleep. Then I don't sleep as well. Then the next day I wake up and I'm not as productive in my business. Then my business doesn't do well or as well. And then I think like, what's going on? Why is my business not doing as well? Right? And I'm looking for all these reasons when it was actually that I was just causing my blood sugar to spike before I went to sleep. So I didn't sleep as well and my cortisol was elevated. And it was this physical part. I want you to start thinking about your life in terms of these cascades that you're creating, because we're creating cascades all over the place. And oftentimes, I think it's human nature. We think of things in isolation, where we think of, okay, well, I'm not feeling good in this moment. So what did I do in this moment or the last few moments? We're not thinking about a day before or a week before that actually fed into that moment. And so when we start to stack these positive habits, what happens is we start to create this positive cascade where, okay, let's say I ate something for dinner, maybe like protein and vegetables. I know for me, that's super positive and helpful. So then I slept better, right? And then I woke up earlier and I was able to do a longer meditation because I woke up earlier. Then I was feeling super creative from this meditation and I released an amazing podcast, which connected me with the most amazing client. Right? You see this cascade, and that cascade could take a week to be created, but we don't often link the cause and the effect of our actions. But when we want to become creators of our life, we have to become the cause, and we have to start seeing how are we creating these positive cascades versus these negative cascades in our life. And so that's really, truthfully, what this episode's all about. It's about creating positive cascades in your life. And the way I recommend doing this is I recommend keeping a note on your phone. I'll shout out to my health coach, Meg, who recommended this for me. Keeping a note on your phone of what you ate that day, how you exercised, and how you felt. And just noticing these patterns. And for me, I find it really fun because I'm kind of a nerd. I love it. I think it's so cool to see, okay, well, I ate this and I felt this way, or I didn't sleep as well and then I had this result. Because what you can do is you can kind of tinker with yourself. And it's not meant to be something that's super rigid or it has to be perfect, but it's fun. You get to understand yourself better. Keep that note on your phone and you can just notice, how do certain foods make you feel? For me, I know processed foods, I know gluten, I know dairy, I know sugar don't make me feel good. Alcohol doesn't make me feel good. I don't really drink alcohol at all anymore because it doesn't make me feel good. And I know it's going to drop my vibration probably the next few days. So I just don't do it. So noticing these things for yourself. I'm not saying anything is good or anything is bad. I'm saying create a diet for yourself that helps you feel really good. And it doesn't mean never having the things that you want to have, but it means being empowered and knowing the results of those things that you enjoy or don't enjoy. So that's the first habit that I personally find has dramatically changed my life in so many ways. The second one is lymphatic drainage. So our lymphatic system does not have a pump, and it's essentially a detox system with our body. And unlike our heart, which our heart pumps on its own and moves our blood on its own, our lymphatic system does not. And I was talking to one of my friends about this, and he's a doctor, and he said that there's actually a lot of energy that can get stuck in our lymphatic system if we don't move it. So in addition to the toxins within the physical body, it can also cause energy to stagnate within the body when we don't move that lymphatic system. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this. I have found this improves my energy dramatically. It helps me feel prettier. My skin looks better. I feel more slim. I feel less sluggish. I've felt so many benefits from this. So you can go somewhere and you can get a lymphatic drainage massage. I like Brazilian lymphatic drainage massages. If you're in San Diego, if you need a recommendation, you can message me on Instagram and I'll send you a recommendation. You can do dry brushing before you take a shower. That will move your lymphatic system. Movement also works, but I like to have a tool as well that will move it. You can also go on YouTube and find some different lymphatic drainage massages. There's a PT on YouTube. I think her name is the Cancer Rehab PT, and she's got a really good lymphatic drainage massage, but it is going to move your energy system. You are going to feel better. You're going to feel more beautiful, and you can do it a couple times a week for like 10, 15 minutes. So that's an amazing tool to have in your back pocket. Another thing that I really like to think about is I like to think about my schedule and optimizing my schedule to support my energy levels. So something I have been thinking a lot about is when I exercise and when I wake up and when I meditate and how those affect my energy level. So what I recommend is if you're able to create a schedule for yourself where you are able to align it with your peaks of your energy. So for me, what I find is that when I exercise at the end of the day before I go to sleep, I feel a lot more tired the next day. Because apparently what happens is your cortisol goes up 2 to 3 times when you exercise late in the day. So I find, yes, I'll sleep, but I'll either wake up earlier or I won't have as restful of sleep. And that creates that negative cascade for me the next day. So what I started doing is I started exercising earlier in the day. And I have a lot of flexibility. I make my own schedule. So that's possible for me. But I recommend on that little health note that you create, noticing when you do different things, how does it affect you? I find the same thing with meditation is my meditations are more effective when they're in the morning or at night, not as much in the middle of the day. So noticing when these different habits are benefiting you versus not. And this is all about how do I actually begin to work with myself and create a lot of positive results for myself versus work against myself and work against my biology and my mindset. So another habit that I love is reading 10 pages a day. I started this habit a few years ago and it's helped me to read a lot of books every single year. You will improve your vocabulary. You will become smarter. You will become more creative. You will feel more connected. And you also are flooding in more of those positive inputs when you allow yourself to read more books. And I'm not talking about reading on your phone. I'm talking about physical books. So you reduce the screen time. You're not scrolling because scrolling can create stress in our mind. It can create a lot of comparison. And so we're replacing it with reading a book, which is really calming for the nervous system. It's really peace creating. I love that one. Another one that I really like to do is I like to romanticize my life. So the way that I do this is I try to do it in lots of different moments. Like when I'm driving somewhere, I will get myself like a nice little drink in the car or put a nice song on, or I have like on Monday mornings, I love going to my favorite cafe and planning out the podcast that I'm going to do that week. And I make it special. I have a certain latte that I like. I love having these little moments throughout my week where they're things that I get to look forward to. And it makes me feel like a little bit of a movie. And a really powerful way to do this is to think about what are some moments that you want from your future life. Maybe it's that when you have kids, you'll go to the park. So maybe you have a certain time of the week where you go and you just walk in the park to be in that energy, to be in that frequency. Think about in your future life, maybe you'll walk in a certain neighborhood. So maybe you go walk in that neighborhood. Or maybe when you quit your 9 to 5, you're going to be able to work in cafes. So maybe you figure out a certain time, maybe a Sunday morning where you can go work in a cafe. So you're plugging yourself into that frequency of your future life. Or maybe if you're manifesting love, you imagine yourself going on these sunset walks on the beach with your future partner. So maybe you go take yourself on those sunset walks and you play a song and you just imagine what it would feel like to be with that person. Not only are you going to feel amazing, but you're going to collapse time between your future life and the now. Whoop. Another habit that will improve your energy as well throughout the day is just drinking water as soon as you wake up. And so many of these are so easy to implement that what happens is as you stack these habits, you get all of these little dopamine hits and you create this massive positive cascade because you're essentially constantly winning. I heard this video years ago of Michael Phelps talking about how he would prepare for the Olympics essentially. And he started preparing years before because what he would do is he'd wake up in the morning, he'd always make his bed, he'd always have the same morning routine, he'd have the same thing for breakfast, and he'd never miss. So it was like, he did this, check that off. He did this, check that off. He did this, check that off. So what he's doing is he's creating this cascade of all of these positive moments throughout the day. Then as he creates those positive moments, then what he's doing is then he goes to swim practice and he gets in the pool. He completes his workout. So he's creating essentially this string of wins for himself. So then when he gets in the pool to race, he's already won everything else that morning, the day before, the week before. So then he gets in the pool and of course he's going to win because he always does what he says he's going to do. He always wins. So that's what you're doing when you put in these easy wins, like waking up and drinking 10 ounces of water immediately when you wake up is so easy to do. It takes no time at all. You're creating this positive momentum to become the winner of your life, right? You'll become the Michael Phelps of your life. That always inspired me thinking about it in terms of that, of these small wins, right? Making your bed in the morning makes a difference because you get that little dopamine hit and you think subconsciously to yourself, like, I'm somebody who makes their bed. I'm somebody who follows through. I'm somebody who, keeps my space clean. There's all of these positive associations with it. And so you're building that momentum for the person you want to be in all of these micro moments. Another fun thing that I did this past year was I got a color analysis. And if you look back at my Instagram content, you'll see my hair was lighter. I dyed my hair a little bit darker and I got a color analysis of the clothes that were more in my season. And I found this so fun because I almost think of it as like you are creating this new identity of this new version of yourself that you want to be. And so you have that old chapter that you can look at. And when you look at photos, you actually see a physical difference. So it's fun. It makes you feel pretty. It is just a really fun thing to do for yourself and to gift yourself as you're creating this new chapter, this new version of you. I loved doing that. I highly recommend doing that. And then another thing that I think is also really valuable to do as well is to clean out your spaces. So your physical items that you own, clothes, shoes, jewelry, books, all of these things that you own, old notebooks, carry an energetic frequency, right? This is why people go visit relics, is because relics hold energy from the saints or the place, the spiritual place or whatever it might have been. Your stuff holds that energy too. And so if you're holding on to a lot of old stuff from old past versions of yourself, it's going to be harder to let that go. I recommend doing a big old cleaning out a few times a year where you're just getting rid of that old stuff, especially if you haven't done it in a while, to not only make space for the new, but also to clear out the old and open up your frequency, open up your vibration. Another thing that I highly, highly recommend is just doing a daily visualization. And this could be you put on a song and you do it for 5 minutes. And what you're doing is visualizing that version of yourself in the future. You're just connecting to how you want to feel, how you would move through the world as that version of you, because your mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and imagined. So when you plug in to that future version of you, you are teaching your mind, you're teaching your brain, you're rewiring yourself to actually become that person. What are micro moments you can picture? How would you show up as that version of you? And what you will find is the more you do it, the more you start to easily become that person throughout your life. Another thing I highly recommend doing is taking some form of dance class. So I really like taking sensual dance classes. I think that it's so empowering for women to connect with their body in that way and feel into your feminine energy in a way that feels super, super good. If you've never done it before, you can start with a more mellow, like a Zumba or something like that. In San Diego, we have a place called Madhouse that I really like to go. It's like cardio dance, but it's kind of sexy. It's super fun. Finding something like that, typically the studios are only women, so it feels super, super safe, is going to connect you to a new aspect of yourself. It's going to connect you to this more feminine, this more free, this fun version of you who's not so stuck in the 3D and the to-dos and the society. That's something I absolutely love. If you do it and you love it, message me. I'd love to hear your experience. I love it. There's also S Factor you can check out. S Factor's online. It's slower, more sensual dance, but there is something so amazing and so powerful about connecting to that aspect of yourself as a woman, especially if you've never done it. Another habit that I recommend is journaling before you go to sleep. And you can do it for literally 3 minutes. And you basically write down 3 things. One is you do self-acknowledgement. So you acknowledge yourself and say, I'm proud of myself for a couple of things you did that day. It's going to make you feel super good. It's going to teach your mind to look for things to be proud of for you. Then you write down a couple things you're grateful for. Of course, we know gratitude research has shown that gratitude rewires your brain to find things to be grateful for. It makes you happier. It's such an easy win to check off of your bucket list. And then the last one I recommend is think about, okay, how do I want to show up tomorrow as that future version of myself? So is there anything I did today that I would like to change for tomorrow? That's sort of how I think about that last one. And something I have seen is that this is a practice that a lot of really successful people will talk about that they do, is that they'll reflect on the day and notice things that they're proud of and things that they would like to adjust for tomorrow. Another really, really simple habit that I love as well is just walking daily. And I love to walk as my future self. So I love to walk my dog and really think about and anchor into the version of me that I want to be in the future. And if I had what it was that I wanted now, how would I show up? How would I walk in this moment? What would I be thinking about? What emotions would I be feeling? It is so fun. It will make you addicted to walking. And then another one that I find very, very valuable as well, and this is something that I've heard a lot of like biohackers talk about on podcasts, is getting morning sunlight. So it helps to set your circadian rhythm so you have more energy throughout the day, you fall asleep more easily at night. And so if you can do that walk in the morning, get that morning sunlight, you are going to feel more energized. You are going to feel better. When I was in college and I was really depressed, I was having a hard time getting out of bed, all sorts of stuff like that. I started a habit of just riding my bike in the morning to go to campus. And I found that that alone helped so much of my depression. All of these habits seem so simple, but the idea is that these habits are part of a larger cascade of who you are becoming and the life you're creating for yourself. So what I recommend is just think about a couple of these habits from this episode that I've shared, or a couple of habits that you're like, I've been wanting to do that, but I haven't done it, and start to do them and start to intentionally notice what's the positive ripple effect of doing this habit. Because what you're going to see is that you'll want to do it more when you start to link it to all of the positive benefits in your life. So I hope that you have loved that. I've loved doing this episode for you. And if you would love to learn more about my work, you can always follow me on Instagram at Alignment with Jenn. I would love to hear your reviews on the episode. Any questions that you have, please comment or review on the episode, and I'll see you in the next one.